Hello and welcome back to episode 48 of Novel Knits. My name is Dehnel and this is my YouTube channel where I talk about what I'm knitting and what I'm reading. Thank you so much for joining me today. I always appreciate you spending your time with me. If you're new, welcome. If you're returning, welcome back. And yeah, let's get into things. I have a lot to share today, so I'm going to try to keep the intro pretty short. I am coming to you very tiredly today from just south of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. It's Friday, it's March 1st, and I'm not at my best today, but I'm gonna power through this. I'm not at my best, but I'm going to try my best to get this recorded and out because I really want to. And yeah, so I'm not wearing any knitting today because that's the kind of day it is, but I am wearing my summer sock camp hoodie that I got from Kay, the crazy sock lady, from her Spreadshirt shop over the summer. And yeah, so that's close enough, right? Really quick, I'm Novel Knit Girl on Instagram and Ravelry, and yeah, everything I talk about today I will link down below this video in the description bar. Everything about my current make-alongs will be there. I'll talk about them a little bit as we're going through this episode, but yeah, any questions, check there. Always feel free to leave a comment, like, subscribe, all those things. And yeah, let's get into everything. I have a sick dog right now. Well, she's doing better and she thinks that she's living her best life because she's eating boiled chicken and rice instead of her dog food. But she is one of the reasons I am so tired this week. It's been a lot. When you have a dog that does not just go out on their own, we've trained our dog because we don't have a fenced in yard and there's like wetlands, marshlands, a bike path, a lot of wild animals that come in and out of our neighborhood. We've trained her to go for walks. So I take her for 3 walks a day, sometimes 4, and that's just how she's always been. But when she gets sick, she doesn't know what to do because I can't just open the back door and let her out at 11 o'clock at night. So we had a couple rough nights this week, and here she is. She must know I'm talking about her. And so I did not get a lot of sleep, but she is doing better now. And also my daughter is taking chemistry, and it's bringing a lot of stress into our household. But that's about it for Vital Few today. Really quick, I am hosting a year-long make-along called Shop Your Stash 2024, which is what it sounds like. Use your stash yarn to knit or crochet anything. I have very few rules. They're all listed below this video. And both of my make-alongs, I'll have a lot more information for you. If you watch the previous episode, episode 47 really goes through, especially the other one I'm hosting, which is the Cozy Winter Reads and Make Along, which is knit something book themed, either a book themed pattern or use book themed yarn or use both together, whatever you'd like, or be creative and make it however you want. So just make something book themed and then read a book, any book that you would like. And that goes until March 31st. So we have one more month to read and make our book related items. So I have been enjoying that a lot. In fact, I have one more book-themed project that I want to cast on before the end of this make-along. I've been having so much fun, so I hope you all have as well. All right, I have 4 finished objects, which is crazy. One you've never even seen. I have a ton of works in progress. I have been knitting a ton, and you're really gonna see that today. I'm not even gonna show you everything I've knit on. I've been knitting so much. And then I'll have a little book club at the end. When I wrote the notes for my episode today, it was a week and a half ago, and I only had 1 finished object, and I'd only read 3 books, so I might be a little off on a few things. But I just wanted to go through really quickly before I start and check in on my goals for the year because it's March and I have a goal to try to make 20 garments and 24 pairs of socks, and I actually feel like I'm doing really well on that. And I'm also trying not to buy very many patterns. I haven't bought a few patterns just because I noticed as I was looking through my Ravelry library that my tastes are changing a bit, and I want what I make this year to reflect that. I don't want to feel beholden to patterns that I bought 4 years ago just because I feel that I should make them. So I have bought a few patterns, but I'm buying patterns that I intend to cast on within the next 12 months. So that's kind of been one thing that I have been doing. And then another thing is I'm trying not to buy yarn, but I have made a yarn purchase, mainly because one of my works in progress, it became very clear to me that I was not going to have enough of the Knit Picks Wool of the Andes worsted weight yarn to complete the project. So I had to buy some more, I had to buy a few more skeins. And I figured while I was at Knit Picks, I wanted to pick up some mohair because I felt like in all of my stash, I didn't have enough mohair to complete a few projects that I do want to make this year. So I picked up a little bit of mohair and possibly a couple other skeins, but to make projects that I'm gonna make right now, like not to just go in my stash. I'm not buying stash yarn I'm not buying yarn to go in my stash. I'm buying yarn that I want to use immediately when it comes in the mail. So I was hoping to not buy anything this year. And I'm going to be perfectly honest, this probably isn't the last yarn that I will buy this year. I think that I'm on track to buy a lot less yarn this year, which is in a world where you can be better than you were last year. That's what I'm aiming for. Everything is good. Shopping my stash a lot, which has been fun. I took a look at my whips in Ravelry, and I have 23 whips. 8 of them currently are socks, and I have 3 pairs of socks to show you today. So that means I had 11 pairs of socks as whips, which that seems like a lot. So I'm really, really focused on trying to finish a few pairs of socks before I cast any more socks on. And I think that's really smart because I love socks, but 11 sock whips is excessive even for me. And then the other thing that I have a ton of is I now have 7 blankets as whips. And I think I really have to evaluate what I'm doing here with all these blanket whips because one is almost done. It's the bits and bobs. I really just have to add the border, and then that could be out of my whips, but I refuse to do it. So that's still a whip. And then I'm working on some long-term blankets. I get 2 Cozy Memories blankets for my kids, but I think that I really need to evaluate if I need all of these blankets. I mean, I want them. I love them. So I thought maybe next time I would pull out all my blanket whips and we could have a little discussion at the end about them. So that was just an idea I had. So weirdly enough, socks and blankets are what I have the most of in my whips. I have no hats right now, so I want to cast on a few hats, but we'll get to that at the end. All right, my first finished object, I apologize, I'm all over the place. I need sleep, and I have not gotten much this week. In fact, I slept on this couch one night with my dog. Well, not with her because she doesn't come up on the furniture, but listening for her to get sick. So that's kind of week I've had. All right, I have a big finished object. I did finish my love note. So this is my second finished sweater of 2024, and I'm really happy with it. It does need a little surgery, and I'll get to that, but I'll tell you about it first. So I think I made between a small and a medium. I cast on for the medium, and then somehow before starting the lace, I accidentally went to small, but this yarn really grew in blocking, so it didn't end up being a problem at all. And then there's a point after the lace where you do some raglan increases, and I just did 2 extra just to kind of get me to a place where I knew this would fit well, and it really does. So I obviously made some modifications. I used DK tweed yarn. The yarn I used is Sugar Plum Circus Tweed DK in the color Black Walnut. I got this yarn for a discount off of eBay a few years ago, and I just love it. So I used almost 4 full skeins of yarn, and I have 1 left over, which is going to go into a project you'll see in a little bit. But some modifications I made, I obviously did long sleeves, I did 2x2 ribbing, and I added a turtleneck. And I love everything about it. It looks so good. When I was knitting the turtleneck and folding it over, it was great, and it fit over my head, and I loved how it looked, and everything was great. And then I bound off, and I cannot get the turtleneck funnel over my neck. So I'm trying to decide if I just want to unravel the top and work on some different stretchier bind offs, or if I want to unpick the entire turtleneck and make it a little bit less tight, make it a little bit looser and more cowl-esque, which is what I think I'm leaning towards. And that will not take me very long. I ended up decreasing down to 60 stitches. So I think if I went up to like 74, I think it would give me the look I want. While I don't dislike a tighter turtleneck, I just think I'll get more use out of it if it's not so tight to my neck, kind of like Steve Jobsing. So yeah, so I'm going to be reworking the turtleneck probably this weekend because I would like to wear this before the season is done. We've had the weirdest week, and I know everybody's talking about it, but it was 70 some degrees on Monday. Tuesday, it went down to 20 and we had snow on the ground. And then today I think it's gonna get up to 47 again. I had a horrible migraine, and I don't get migraines very often anymore. And I got an ocular migraine. I thought I was dying. And then I realized it was probably stress, lack of sleep, and then the barometric pressure was all over the place, but it was a rough week. But I'm really happy with this. I think it looks great. I did the high-low hem at the bottom, and I'm showing you the back this whole time, but luckily it looks the same, except for there are short rows on the bottom, not at the top. And so I did the high-low hem, and it fits great. I just have to get it over my head, and then I'll be able to wear it. And I'll try to wear this in one of my future episodes so that you can see it. But I just love it. It's such a great pattern. It was really fun to make, and I'm glad I used this yarn and got it out of my stash, and it's exactly what I wanted. I just had this vision of a wintry love note, and it worked out in my favor. Another project that I have for this weekend is that I'm going to be putting, because as you can see, I have a hard time telling the front and back of my sweaters sometimes. So I had forgotten that a few years ago, I had purchased these fabric tags just on Etsy. I got mine from Mountain Street Arts. I don't know if they still sell fabric tags, but I'm certain if you just typed in fabric garment tags on Etsy, you could find something that works. And I'm going to be sewing these into the back of my sweaters. So I have a stack of some of my recent sweaters that I'm going to be adding tags to this weekend, and there may be one or two more that I want to. Okay, I have 3 finished pairs of socks. I'll go through these kind of quickly because they're socks, and while I love them all, they don't need a ton of time. All right. So I brought my sock blockers today to help show. All right, so the first pair I finished are a pair for my cozy winter reads and make along. It's gonna roll off my tongue by the time this make along is done. And I finished my hibernal socks. These are a pattern by Summer Lee. I used Bumblebee Acres Farm yarn and their butter sock base, and the color is Feyre Cursebreaker. And I don't know if you can tell, but it's a very busy yarn, but the hibernal socks just have this beautiful mock cable pattern. She just released a DK version of this pattern, which I would totally make as well. I loved making these socks. They so much fun to make. I believe it's a 4-row repeat, and yeah, I would make them again in less busy yarn for sure. So these I cast on January 11th, and I finished these last week one day. And these I did 72 stitches. She does say in the pattern if you want a more relaxed fitting sock to go up a size. So I did 72 stitches, and I followed the pattern exactly. I did the heel flap and gusset, and I'm just so happy with these. I really love these. I will definitely make these socks again. All right, the next socks that I finished are a pair of cranked socks that I started these it took me almost a year to add 2 cuffs, 2 heels, and 2 toes, but I did it. I don't have the tag with me. I believe this colorway is Casual Fashion Queen in the color Stained Glass. And it was a sock tube I had cranked. This was also a skein of yarn I got off of eBay. And they're just a beautiful pink speckled sock. And I used some leftover Lolo Did It. I think it was from one of the Dumbledore club colorways that I had gotten when I was part of that for a short amount of time. And then you just do an afterthought heel. And then I kept the toe in this color. I have a lot of this color left over, but I did wind it into a ball, and I think it will just go into my scrappy projects. I've learned that I don't love cranked socks, and there's a couple of reasons. One is I feel that the gauge is much looser than how I knit, and you can kind of see, I haven't blocked these, so you can see how much tighter my stitches are on the heel, which is fine. It's all fine. These will be a fine, comfy pair of socks to wear around the house, or I may give them as gift. Maybe they'll fit somebody else a little bit better than they fit me. And I also don't know what it is, but for some reason, even though I try the sock on after I add the heels, I feel like when I do cranked socks for myself, the toes always come out just a little bit short. Like I could use an extra like half an inch probably. But the good thing about nylon is, you know, sock yarn is it stretches, and this will definitely fit me or my daughter or one of my daughter's friends or one of my in-laws. So these are done. I'm not sure where they're gonna land, but they are done. And then it reminded me though, I have some more sock tubes and I'm like, this goes really fast. I should really just get these done. And finally, I don't know if this sock will fit on here. We'll try. I finished Milo's sock. I should have brought the sock blank to show you. It's a little short, but I finished Milo's socks. I call these his Rebel socks. I used the diamond back pattern by Kay of the Crazy Sock Lady. And these were the socks that I used from my Rebel sock blank from Goosey Fibers. And it was a Princess Leia sock blank. So really cool. And I'm gonna do something with, I have one square of her left, and I talked about maybe trying a log cabin blanket around it, but I actually think I'm going to find a frame and frame it and either keep it for myself or send it to my sister. We're both big Star Wars fans, but I just think it's such a cool sock blank that I want to preserve it, what I have left of it, in one way or another. So if you look on Ravelry at this project page, you will see what it looked like in the sock blank. And then here is the diamond pattern. Kind of gets a little lost in here, but that's okay. And then, yeah, so these turned out really great. Milo's always happy to get socks. And for his, I did a fish lips kiss heel. He is up to 56 stitches like the rest of, no, 64 stitches like the rest of us. He used to be 56 stitches. So his feet are growing. They're almost as large as mine and Claire's now, and his will probably end up being the biggest in the family at some point in time, but they're not there yet. All of my socks are on Magic Loop, and these, I think I started these in the fall. So yeah. They're great. Oh, and this heel yarn is from Stranded Dye Works. It is a one-of-a-kind red. But that's it for my finished objects. And I have at least two more pairs of socks that are half objects. And I think I'm gonna show them both today. So I'm gonna focus on getting at least 3 more pairs of socks off the needles, which will bring me to 5 before I cast anything new on. And I have 1 pair of sock needles that are Addy Rockets that I think I'm gonna trash because they seem, I don't know. The rest of my socks I knit on, let me see, Chow Goose. Yeah, the Chow Goose. And the Addy Rockets, they seem like a smaller needle, and my gauge is smaller with them. And every time I make a sock with them, it doesn't feel the same. I used it actually for the 72 stitch sock, and I think if I'd used this, the sock would have turned out slouchier. So I'm actually happy I used it for that sock, but in terms of a sock needle, I don't think I'm gonna continue using that. Okay, On to works in progress. And like I said, this is not everything. Obviously, I have 23 things in my big whip world, and I would like to get through some of them, but I think have at least 4 things I'll be casting on before we talk again. So I am never gonna have less whips. I'm just not. I'm not that kind of person, and it's okay, but part of me wishes I was. I wish I could change, but I don't. You guys are helping me wake up today, so thank you for that. This was a good idea. Okay, I will start with the other projects I'm working on for my make-along. I am making the Smoke Gets in Your Eyes socks by Nancy Wheeler. This is for my Cozy Winter Reads and Makes Along. And the yarn I'm using is so good, you guys, is Nomadic Yarns and her Yak Base, which her Yak Base is by far my favorite. It mutes the colors just enough, a little bit, because it's a darker base, and it is so soft. It does pill a little bit, but I'm okay with that. It is also a little bit pricier than her other bases, but not a lot. So here it is. I have finished 1 sock. Sorry, I'm having some shadows today. And this is a 4-row repeat, and it is amazing. You cable without a cable needle, and I love it so much. This is an addictive sock. I will make this one again as well. I'm following it to pattern, except for I did a Fish Lips Kiss heel, just because with stripes sometimes I always like to do a different heel. Just, I shouldn't say always, because I've recently done 2 striped socks where I didn't do a cut, like some sort of different heel. But this sock particularly, I wanted to keep the stripe sequence together on the front, and I was just too in love with it to do anything else. So I added a Fish Lips Kiss heel on this one. The red is a red from the Creative Knitter. This was a one-of-a-kind red I bought a few years ago. All of this is stash yarn, which was great because I almost bought this yarn again when she was promoting it because I loved it so much. And the way it fits into my make-along is the colorway is called Slow Burn. And I've read all the Bridgerton books, and there's a lot of slow burning that goes on. So I don't know if this was a Valentine's colorway or a Bridgerton colorway, but I'm making it work for me for Bridgerton. And I just love this. So I have not cast on for the second sock yet, but I will shortly. You'll see I'm almost done with a different, well, not almost, but I'm getting closer to being done on a different pair of socks. And then once that one is done, I will go full force into this one so that I can finish these by the end of my make-along. Okay, what else do I have? Okay, I have not been working on this recently, but one of the other projects for my make-along is the Bennet Sisters shawl by Lindsay Fowler. Here it is. So this is a pretty large shawl, and you'll see you start on one end and it's all garter, which is lovely. And then you get to a point where you start to add some stockinette, and then you get to the middle, and then you add mohair to the second half of the shawl. And I've said this every time I talk about it, but she used the same color mohair throughout. I am using kind of a contrast, not a contrast, a coordinating, but it's gonna change the second half of the shawl dramatically. So there's gonna be 2 very different looks. I have about 40 rows to go before I add the mohair. I think I've slowed down just because it's a shawl, and while I enjoy it and I love the yarn, it does start to get a little boring after a while. So I really want to get to a point where I add the mohair, because I think that'll get me back to feeling excited about this one. Plus, I really love it. So the yarn I'm using for the main color is Sassy Strings Goddess. I've had this in my stash for a few years. And yeah, it's a gorgeous color combination of like cream and orange and purple and copper. And then you can see here's where it's stockinette and then garter. So I just have to keep going. It's coming along, and I do love it. Every time I work on it, I'm happy. It's just, you'll see, I've got a lot of really fun things that I've been working on. So this one has kind of fallen to the wayside, but here are the 2 yarns together. So the mohair that I have is from Les Garçons, and it is called Golden Monkey, and it was from their and it was from his Dark Materials mystery club that I was a part of a few years. I actually did not end up keeping a lot of the yarn from that mystery club. I don't know why. But I did keep this, and I just love that like dark caramel color. So yeah, so that's that. Coming along. I hope to finish this month for sure. We'll see if I can do it. I'm not actually very confident, but we'll see. I'm going to try. All right, onto a sweater. So I have been working on the Douglas Cardi by Andrea Mowry, and the yarn I'm using is this yarn, the Too Cool Wool, that I ordered from the Woolly Thistle last year to make this cardigan. And I've gotten to a point on this where I bound off the top, and it needs sleeves, a button band, and pockets. It is coming along really well. I did block this because I wanted to know if it was going to grow, and it really did not grow. I love the colors. It is a little short, and these sleeve holes are a little on the small side. I'm not worried it's not going to fit me, because it will, but I'm not sure it's going to be as large as I want. And I could theoretically take out this top stripe, take out the bind off and add another stripe, but I'm not that kind of person. That's not for me. And I just keep reminding myself that there's a lot of fabric to be added to this cardigan yet. I mean, if you look at the picture, we'll be adding more fabric here and on the cuffs, and then right there on the pocket. And the sleeves, I think, are my biggest concern. Because Andrea Mowry's sleeves tend to always fit me tightly, she already has you going up a needle size. So I think what I will do is start with going up one needle size and knit one stripe and try it on and see how it feels. And then if it's not feeling like it's giving me enough room, maybe try to go up a second needle size. But I don't know if the gauge will be really weird if I do that, but that's my goal. This experience really made me consider gauge swatching. Now, would it have changed everything? Possibly not. Because this is a bottom-up sweater, it's really hard to know where you're at until you get to that point where you bind off and then you're like, ooh, maybe another, but then would another stripe have been too long? I'm not sure. But I'm usually pretty close to being on gauge with Andrea Mowry. That being said, I should not always take it for granted when using different yarns and different materials. Also, I realized that I don't think I've been choosing the right size for myself. A few of my sweaters over the last year have come out smaller than I would have liked. And I realized two things happened. Well, one thing happened, and then I had an epiphany about another thing. One is that I've put on some weight in the last year. Not so much that like you can tell, but my clothes fit me a little differently. And I'm still knitting for a size that I used to be. I'm hoping to get back there, but there's no guarantees. I'm in my mid-40s and it's a really difficult time to lose weight. And that's just life. Then I also realized that I'm not choosing the right size for the fit of some of the garments I want to make. I was reading the instructions for one of the new sweaters that I cast on, and it said, choose a size that gives you 4 to 6 inches of ease. So say your bust size is like a 38, you should be choosing like a 43 or 44, if you want it to fit the way that it fits in the pattern. And I think I've just always gone for like, okay, well, I'm around a 38 or 40, so I'll just get whatever. And then it helps me too, because sometimes you have to buy less yarn. And, but I just realized that that's not it. If things are fitting me tight, I have to do, there's two things I can change. One is gauge swatching. I'm a gauge swatcher now, you'll see. And the second one is choosing a bigger size, even though like as women, that's really hard to do. Even if it makes sense, like this is still your bust size, but choose a size bigger. It's hard to do for me, at least. I don't know if anybody else finds that hard to do, but I've had this realization and epiphany, and I'm changing my ways. So this is the last sweater that I will not gauge swatch for, but I'm not going back. We're too far in, and I do love it. It's just, and I'm wearing a big sweatshirt, but you know, when I pull it up here, I mean, this feels kind of tight. Again, I am wearing a sweatshirt, but the other thing that I'm thinking is adding stitches if I need to, but I don't know if that's gonna warp the way the sleeve looks, but I'm gonna play around with it. I do like it though. But once I bound off and tried it on and I felt like it was a little short and tight, I was like, oh, I need a break. So I'm taking a little break, but I'll be back, and this will be finished in the next month or two. This would be a nice one to have finished. It's not Eastery. I'd say it reads a little bit more autumn, but it could be Eastery. We don't really celebrate Easter, but you know, ham's good. And it's a nice excuse to get together with family. But yeah, this is still on the needles. It will be finished. This just feels like a longer knit for me. Cardigans take longer. There's knitting and purling, and it's not just round and around and around. And, but I do like it, and I would like to finish this one. And I am really enjoying the wool, and I'm really excited to do these afterthought pockets. So that's probably the thing that's keeping me going right now. Also, the way that you add the button band looks really tedious, and I don't really want to do that, but I will. So I am on my way. We will get there. Okay. Next work in progress. This is one you haven't seen in a while. These are, let me go back really quickly. For the Douglas Cardi, it's Andrew and Mowry Tuku wool. I'm making the size 3. I started it on January 2nd. So I'm trying to be better about that. This is the Fuzzy Feet by Forest City Knits. I am using yarn from Suburban Stitcher. I have 2 50-gram skeins in the colors Coal and Shell. These are 64 stitches. I'm making these magic loop, and I started these in October after I ripped out a pair of Dreaming of Paris socks that were just way too big for anybody in my life's feet. So here's where we're at, and I'm loving these so much. So these are great. I think the pattern, well, I know the pattern calls for you to add mohair to a couple different areas. I decided not to do that. I just wanted to do the pattern, and I'm really happy with these. These are super simple, fun to work on, and yeah, these will, once I'm finished with a couple of pairs of socks, these will be getting more attention. On the bottom, it's just striping. The only issue that I'm having is, for some reason, I got a big hole. Well, did I? Yeah, at my heel flap and gusset. Hopefully you can see that. I don't normally have that happen. So it's not a big deal. When I'm done, I'll just grab some of that shell colored yarn and just tidy it up. But that was a little disappointing, but it's not the pattern's fault. It's something I did, and I'm just not sure what I did. But yeah, I love these. So good. Here's the yarn. Yeah, these are fun and coming along. And I got through the heel, so I figured it was time to show them again. These are, I think what makes this great, and I think that's why I'm so into patterned socks right now, is because you can get through like 2 to 3 of the repeats and you feel like you've really accomplish something. And so that's how I feel about these. All right, moving on. I think that's everything on this page. Okay, I started a new blanket, which I had no business doing. I started the Culmination blanket from the Salt and Timber book by Lindsay Fowler. I got this book last year, and it's kind of a scrappy blanket. And it's really awesome because it's bulky weight. The squares are bulky weight, if that makes sense. Yeah, so you can either use bulky weight yarn, or she has formulas for adding different yarns together to make bulky weight, which has been really cool. So I'm going to be using this as my sweater culmination blanket, and I'm going to be adding squares based on some of the sweaters that I've knit. So the first two, I've made 2 squares so far, and they are both the same. So this is using leftovers from my Bibliophile sweater, which is Barocco, no idea. It's a Barocco tweed. And then I held it with 2 strands of the DK, which this is a light DK, so I maybe should have added 1 more strand of something, and then 2 strands of fingering to get the bulky gauge. And so here's these 2, and these are great. I have probably enough of this Barocco Providence to make 1 more square, but I think I might hold it with different strands so that it reads a little differently. So you'll notice in the picture, sorry, I'm really fumbling over my words on this one. You'll see in the picture, all of their squares are different. Mine will not. I will have some of the same squares throughout, but I'm going for all kind of natural-ish tones. Like, I'm not going to throw any hot pinks in there or neons or anything like that. So all kind of soft, warm tones, I think. So I'm kind of hoping I think the blanket that they show is 30 squares. I'm hoping to kind of accumulate maybe 25 to 30 squares by the end of this year, so that maybe next winter I can work on putting the squares together and finishing the blanket. So this will be kind of a year-long project for sure. I have 2 squares. I'm going to try to add squares using yarn from my finished love notes soon, and they're not all going to be tweed. I just happen to have been using some tweed yarn lately, and I think that's great. Okay, I started 2 new sweaters, and yeah, they're both really great. So I started the Alder Grove. This is a pattern by Samantha Guerin, and let me find a picture to show you. This came out a few years ago, and I bought a kit from Lavender Loon Yarns after the sweater came out. So if you'll notice, it's slub yarn, and it's a cotton fluff. So what attracted me to this pattern was the different types of yarn. So here's her tag for Lavender Loon. She's got great colors. They're beautiful. So the cotton fluff is 38% baby alpaca, 25% merino, and 37% Pima cotton. So I was really drawn to using this yarn because it's not lace weight, it's definitely fingering weight. And I was also just interested in the textures, and of course this colorway is unbelievably amazing. It's called Pen Gully. It is so pretty. And yes, I definitely have a color palette, and this is it. I have no shame about that. So I'm kind of at a weird place to show you, but it's fingering weight yarn on size US 5 needles, because I'm a gauge swatcher now. This is my swatch, and I was right on gauge, so I did do a gauge swatch. Slub is hard, and I will say, knitting this sometimes feels like chaos because the slubs in the yarn, and even the cotton fluff it feels a little, it doesn't feel like other yarns. So I don't know, chaos is the best way to describe it. So I finished the back. So you start with the back, and it is. And now I'm working on the front, which you'll see there's like short rows in the back, so the front, it comes in lower. It's hard to show you guys. So I have about maybe a ½ an inch left to do in the cotton fluff, and then I don't know what I do next. It feels early to join under the arms, so I'll have to maybe try it on if that is the next instruction, just to make sure that I feel ready for that. But yeah, it's coming along great. Oh, maybe it would be, possibly. So for this sweater, I should not have done that like that. I have 2 needles attached right now, and so it's kind of wonky. Maybe that's what's making it feel wonky. I actually do really enjoy working on this, so I don't want to make it sound like I don't. I do enjoy working on it. It's just, I feel like it's kind of in an awkward place right now to show and to be at. But yeah, this I started on February 14th, and I'm making size 4, and like I said, I got gauge. So that should give me the amount of ease I want in this pattern, and hopefully it will fit well. The only thing I'm concerned about is I bought a kit for the size 3, and I looked at other people's project pages who use the kits, and I feel like I will have enough yarn, and if I don't, then at least, you know, I should at least be able to do like bracelet length sleeves. That's not my favorite, but it would be better than, for me, having to crop a sweater, because Lord knows I don't like to crop. And because I bought this kit so long ago, I'm sure I cannot get more yarn. So that's the only concern I have about this, is maybe running out of yarn, but I'll be able to come up with a solution, and it'll be fine. Let's do a sock interlude. This one will go fast. I'm still working on my Advent socks from Woolens and Nosh. This was her 2023 Advent, and I have 1 sock completed, Fish Lips Kiss Heel, 64 stitches, magic loop, and I have been working on the second sock. So this is the sock that I'm hoping to finish next, and I think I only have like 3 more stripes, and then I start the heel. Is that right? Four. No, 3. 3 more stripes, and then I'll start the heel. So these, I've been knitting these during meetings at work. I've gotten to a point where I'm very good at focusing. Actually, I focus better, I think, when I'm knitting at work and Zoom meetings, and my camera is high enough that nobody sees what I'm doing with my hands. And this has been my work meeting knitting lately, and so I think that's why this is going so fast. Plus, I haven't been doing stockinette socks, and maybe that's what makes it fast too, is I'm not following a pattern or anything. I'm not sure. Okay, my next sweater cast on, and the one that made me have to buy more yarn. So I cast on, and the picture is terrible because my printer, I recently purchased an iPad so that I don't have to keep printing off patterns, because it's a waste of resources and I don't want to be doing it anymore. But I cast on the Goldwing by Jennifer Steingass. This is a worsted weight colorwork project. It looks like there's three colors because my printer was going, but there's only 2. After I frogged my Ilia, I was looking for something to do with that Knit Picks yarn because I still wanted it out of my stash. And this was what I had in my library that fit the bill, and I decided to cast it on. This is my gauge swatch. This is the same yarn, just on a different base. So I don't know if you can tell, I put 6 purl bumps there because the called for needle was a 5. And as I was knitting it, I thought the 5 is it feels a little stiff. And then I did the 6, and I'm like, I like that gauge better, and that one is actually right on gauge. This one I did knit in the round, so that's why it has this fringe on the sides. I really want this sweater to turn out great, so I did all the swatching. I even washed and blocked my swatch, you guys. I did it. It is so good. I'm so pleased with this. So let me just try to get this to look good on the needles. It's at that awkward point where it's hard to show, but I'm so happy. Look at that. It is so pretty. I love it. So I'm using Knit Picks Wool of the Andes in Jurassic, which is like this greenish blue. And then the other color is Mink Heather. And this pattern, if you'll notice, the Mink Heather is actually going to be the main color. So I think I have enough of that yarn. It's not in stock right now at Knit Picks, so I was hoping to just grab one extra skein just in case, but we'll see. But I'm on row 31 out of 55 for the color work, and I have this much of the Jurassic left. So that was why I was like, this is not going to make it through the end of the color work and the color work sleeves, which I think I'm going to do. I'm going to try it. If I don't like it or I feel like it's too much, I may take the color work off the sleeves. But I'm going to give it a go before I decide. But yeah, this doesn't seem like enough to finish the entire project. So that's why I bought some more yarn. I don't know. I might have enough of this. I'm not sure. We're going to hope. We're going to hope that I don't have to place another order, because one order was okay. I don't want to place another one unless I really, really have to. So, but these are the colors. Knit Picks Wool of the Andes. It's a very affordable yarn. I cannot believe how beautiful this pattern is. Her increases, you cannot even see where you increase. It's unreal. Her invisible increases are phenomenal. I did choose to do the ribbing at the top instead of just a rolled collar. I just thought I would like that a little bit more. I can't believe my color work is so good. I don't know if it's because I'm on gauge. I just don't know. It is so good though. I'm just in love with it. And this is really fun to do. I'm just happy. And then my floats, it's amazing. I don't catch my floats ever. I love it. So this is my biggest priority right now, is just getting through the color work. I feel sort of like I want to get through the color work on this, and then if I need to if I want to put it aside to get a little further on a couple of my other sweaters, that would be fine. I just remember when I did the Ilia, I didn't finish the color work, and then I picked it up later and could not figure it out. I don't even know if I was right the first time around, but so this one, even though the chart is very, very, very good and self-explanatory, I want to finish the color work before I take a significant break. But I think I'm going to keep going with this because I just love it. I just think this is so pretty. So pretty. So I love it, and that's coming along great. That was one of those knits where I didn't know if I would regret it. No regrets. I love it very much. Okay, I have one more pair of socks to show you. And then I have some future cast-ons to talk about, and then we will get to book club. This is really long. I'm sorry. All right, my last pair of socks. I cast on the Nord socks by Nancy Wheeler. She is doing a make-along right now. I'm not committing to being part of it, but I did want to cast on as part of it. So this is her newest DK weight sock pattern, and it is just really interesting and, again, really fun. Nancy is the queen of fun, repetitive patterns. I'm addicted to her sock patterns right now. They are just so good. So I like this one a lot. I've been watching, I took a sick day when I had a migraine and I just needed a comfort thing. So I've been watching Bridgerton again. So I cast these on while watching Bridgerton. And it's got this nice little detail on the back too. So these are fun, these are great. The yarn I'm using is, oh dear, something was wrong with my ball winder the day that I wound this yarn. This is DK weight yarn from Ex Libris Fibers, and it's called Jardis. I may have to I may have to just unwind this and wind it into a ball because something is wrong here. I probably need a new ball winder actually, but it's a hard thing to justify buying. When you have one, that works, but it's a pill. And that's the best thing I can say about my ball winder. It's a pill. The yarn flies off of the hook all the time and loves to wrap around the bottom, and then you've got to unwind and fix your Swift, and it's a whole thing. And yeah, but maybe for my birthday, we'll see. All right, I have a few other things to share before we get to book club. I have had this pattern and yarn in my queue for 2 years. Apparently 2022 or 2020, there was a couple big buying years in there. I think it was mostly 2020 and 2021 when the pandemic was in full swing. I was buying from everybody. I didn't want anybody to suffer. You know, I wanted to be the reason that an indie dyer survived, apparently, and also big box stores. So I bought the called for yarn to make this sweater, and it's Hinterland Watershed, I think. It's a bulky yarn. It's one of those yarns that's unspun, so it comes apart really easily. There's a lot of animal matter in it. It's a very hairy yarn, and I knit a swatch, which is great. And I thought this was gonna be my next cast done. And it's not that I don't wanna make this, I just feeling kind of like not now, if that makes sense. I want to make this year, so this will be a cast on, maybe even a summer cast on to get ready for fall. I don't know, but there was something about the experience of winding up the skeins of yarn and making this swatch that just made me feel like, will I love this? I think I will. I think I will love it. But I don't want to make it this second. So these are my 3 colors, and you'll see there's not a huge contrast with my 3rd color, and I'm okay with it. I'm not buying more. This is not an inexpensive yarn. So, and also with this part in the middle, this 3rd color, you can't carry your yarn. So I'm gonna have to kind of figure out intarsia, which I kind of did in this swatch. I kind of did. But that also made me not very excited about it. So I will make this probably this year because this is a lot of yarn to move out of my stash as well. A lot of big, bulky, and pricey yarn that I would like to use. And it feels amazing. Feels amazing. Maybe I'm talking myself into casting it on. I don't know. But let me tell you what else I want to cast on. So before the end of my make long, I want to cast on the Bookshop shawl. This is by Casey Herlehi. I don't know if I'm saying her last name right. This just looks like a really fun 1 skein shawl. You can also make a 2 skein shawl. But I have this yarn, and I bought this yarn a few years ago, story of my life. And it is from, I just found it on Etsy. It's from the Little Foxes, and it's called Goblin King, which is a Labyrinth reference. David Bowie, Labyrinth. And I just really enjoy it. It's kind of speckly and variegated, and the colors are soft, but impactful. So I want to cast this on before the end of my make long for sure. And also this winter, I have noticed I have 2 main hats that I wear that I've made. One is the Musselburgh, which is starting to pill because I wear it a lot. And I made that out of, I believe, a skein of Lehman Fiber Arts, and I think it was the Heather's colorway. Wow, that recall was really impressive. And I really, really like how it looks, but it is getting pilly and it's kind of starting to stretch out a little bit. And then my other hat that I wear all the time, I don't remember the pattern, but it's a beautiful green cabled hat that I made. And again, it's just stretched out a little bit. I think I have a small head in general compared to other adults. And so while I love both of the hats, they kind of slip around on my head a little bit. So I'm on a quest to make a great hat that's gonna fit me really well. And so I found On the Sea Train by Espace Tricot, and then I also found the Manhattan hat by Tori Yu. I'm gonna be making both of those. For the On the Sea Train hat, I have this leftover skein of Corey Worsted by La Bien Aimée that I had when I made my stratified, I think that's it, the stratified sweater out of the worsted book that I really enjoyed making. I actually sadly shrunk that sweater last year, which is why you don't see me wear it, and I'm really unhappy about that. So do not, under any circumstances, put Corey Worsted in the dryer. No, I didn't even put it in the dryer. I put it in my washing machine. Do not ever put Corey Worsted in a washing machine. But so I think I'm gonna try making the On the Sea Train with this, and that's just a ribbed hat from what I can tell. I did print out the pattern, but I should show you. It's so stupid, guys. This is how it printed out. So yeah, I was having some printer ink issues apparently. So I'm going to try to make this. And then the Manhattan hat is also ribbed, but it's kind of got that like more hipster young person style of like the square on top. I don't know if I'm gonna like it or not, but I have a 15-year-old daughter, so and I want kind of more neutral colors for my hats. I'm kind of realizing now that I have a bunch of things that don't go together, so I kind of look like a crazy person. And like I said, I take my dog out on 3 walks a day, so not that I want to be matchy-matchy, but I kind of think I want more neutrals for the things that I'm wearing, because I wear a black coat, and I've had the same black Patagonia coat for 5 years. Yes, it was an expensive coat, but it has lasted me 5 years and it is still phenomenal, and I love it. And it will probably last me another 4 years. So I kind of think like this color would be great, some creams, maybe black even, or charcoal. There's also another hat. I was watching Selma from Little Big Knits, and she was showing a Giselle hat that she just finished that has a similar construction to the Musselburgh, but it's DK weight, and the second half is lace. And then you fold it on top of each other and it's got like this fuzzy lace. And I thought that would be really neat too. So I think I'm gonna be making a couple hats, and I know we're in March, I've missed my season, but it doesn't hurt to have them ready for next year. And then if I make something that either of my kids like, that gives me something to make for them. I also need to make my dog a new puppy sweater. She is looking pretty shabby. She's had hers for about 5 years. I don't know why. I mean, they go fast. So I'll be making another dog sweater for next year as well. But yeah, I've been really happy with my knitting lately, so no regrets, no regrets. Okay, let's get into book club. This is gonna be all over the place because I had to make notes. Okay. So if you're not here for book club, because this is already at an hour, thank you so much. I'm really glad you're here. If you have any ideas about the turtleneck for my love note, please let me know below. But otherwise, I will see you next time. Thanks so much. Okay, for those of you who want to hear about the books, here we go. I finished The Last Letter by Rebecca Yarros. I gave that 3 stars, you guys. It made me ugly cry. Ugly cry. This is one that I showed that I was going to be reading as part of my make-along. So if you read it too, oh my gosh. Ugly cry, and I don't know, it was a bit too much of a tearjerker for me. That's why I gave it 3 stars. I know that I shouldn't be this way, but I just sometimes I think that's just not realistic. And that's a little bit of how I felt here. I also finished Crescent City, House of Flame and Shadows by Sarah J. Maas. You guys, I gave this 4 stars. Imagine that. If you know me, you know I love A Court of Thorns and Roses. The first 3 books, I think everything after that is kind of shit. I liked the Throne of Glass series, okay. I think I've read it twice. It's good. But she has like very similar themes throughout all of her books. And Crescent City, I did not like. And then I only read the second book because I heard there was a Court of Thorns and Roses crossover, which there was at the very end. And then there was more of it in this book. But overall, I felt like her characters finally came together. I finally kind of understood what was going on, and I did actually enjoy it. So I gave it 4 stars, and it was not as gross spicy as her last couple books have been. So maybe she's getting that feedback, I don't know. But I thought overall this one was the best of the series. I liked it enough that I think I would actually even go back and start over again, just because I forgot a lot of what happened in the first 2 books. So overall, good. Would I recommend the series? Probably not. But, you know, I read it and it was good. Okay, I also read, oh my gosh, Check and Mate by Allie Hazelwood. I loved this book. It was just what I needed. It was a nice little palette cleanser, chess, romance, fun. I loved it. It was great. I'm a big fan of her books. I tend to like her books a lot. And then I read The Will of the Many by James Islington. This was 4 stars. It was pretty big and epic and kind of needed probably a little more brain power than I devoted to it while I was listening to it. But it was really, really interesting and fantastic. It took me a while to get into it, but once I was into it, I really enjoyed it a lot. Kind of a political, it's definitely a political, fantasy fiction type dystopian book. Great. I think there's going to be at least 1 more book coming out, and I will definitely read it. It was good. And then I read Out of Shape, Worthless Loser by Gracie Gold. I gave that 3 stars. I don't think anybody should write a memoir before they're 50, and maybe even not even 55. So Gracie Gold's in her 20s. She's an American figure skater. She went to the Sochi Olympics. What was that, 2004? I'm not sure. I don't really remember. She was kind of a big deal, and then she had kind of a big downfall, eating disorder, and she's been trying to come back to skating on her own terms, but it's been like 10 years since all of this happened. Obviously, if she went to the 2004 Olympics, and now it's 2024, and then COVID happened, but I love figure skating. Do I know there are things wrong with that sport? Yes, but I love it. I think she makes figure skating a little bit of her scapegoat in this book, and I also think she made a kind of big misstep, in my opinion. I think I famously don't love when young people write memoirs, and I'm especially harsh on it, and I don't know why, but anyway, that's that. Okay, and then I think that's it for the books that I've read. Right now I'm reading Beneath a Scarlet Sky by Mark T. Sullivan. I Have Some Questions for You by Rebecca Mackay, which I like this one, but there's some weird choppy sentences in here that stylistically are like, I see what you're going for, but it makes the reading experience kind of choppy. Overall, I'm enjoying the actual storyline, the plot line, but the writing style is really weird, and I'm having a little bit of trouble with it. And then I also started The English American by Allison Larkin. I would say all 3 of the books I'm reading right now are kind of like, I don't know, I like them all, but I need one of them to like pull me in, and it'll happen, or else I'll start something else because it's my reading time. I can do what I want with it. So anyway, that's all I have for my book club today. It was a little choppy today, but you know, we got through it. Let me know what you're reading, and let me know what you're working on. I have I'm not sure what sweater I want to cast on next, but I have about 6 that I'm choosing from. Yeah, I want to cast on all the things. So I think I'm going to do a little cast on party with hats, and then after that I will cast on the sweaters. Okay, I'm going to stop rambling, but thank you so much for joining me. I'm always glad to spend time with you, and yeah, like, subscribe, leave me a note if you feel like it. If not, no worries. And I will talk to you next time. Bye.